So the spooky season is now upon us, and I'm just going to use this as like a cheap opportunity to talk about one of my favorite film franchises just in general, and that is Saw. Yes, that's right. The proto torture porn film series that is one of my favorite film franchises. Look, okay, if you've never actually seen the films or if you've only seen a couple of them, like what makes it really interesting to me is that it starts weaving in this really bizarre, super complicated narrative. It starts from like very humble indie film beginnings and then just, not the pun, spirals into something far grander and more ridiculous than its creators ever could have like pictured it being. Because it's something that I've never really had a chance to like talk about before in any kind of depth or length, I want to do some kind of quick, easy content for Halloween. This is actually one of two Halloween videos, so if you're thinking, Xeon, this really isn't my jam, don't worry. I have a video that will probably most likely be your jam, dropping on Halloween, assuming I don't fuck up and drop it late. Assume I'm gonna fuck up and drop it late. Pretty much this video is the guarantee that I get like one spooky vid out during the spooky month. Like, this is my insurance policy. So yeah, I'm gonna do this video in the form of like a tier ranking list. I don't think I've ever done one of these before. Or maybe if I have, I don't remember. Probably I have. I feel like that's something I would have done. I feel like everyone's done like a fucking tier list at some point. But fuck it, I want to do a tier list because I think they're kind of cool and fun and easy content. Okay, so the way I have this set up, it is Kino at the top, good, acceptable, and fuck you. Just fuck you. How dare you? How dare you be you? You. So obviously we're going to start things with the first film, Saw, just Saw, and okay, like I feel like a lot of people are gonna put Saw like at the tippy top of these lists. I feel like every time there's one of these lists, Saw is like either number one, maybe number two. Um, it doesn't even rank number two for me. And you'll see where it ranks overall by the end of this. But okay, so I really appreciate what Saw is, like the very first film. I think it's a pretty interesting premise. It's a smaller, more intimate film, which is, you know, more my jam usually. But what makes Saw like special as like a film series is how it, once again, not the pun, spirals into this bigger, grander, interweaving narrative. And like on its own as a singular film, it's just a really solid, you know, tense, you know, thriller horror-esque film. Like, it's not really, honestly, calling Saw horror is kind of weird because I've never actually felt scared watching a Saw film. Usually I'm like, yeah, get fucked up by the traps. Or I'm like, you know, caught in like really tense moments because it's more of a thriller than anything. Overall, though, I think Saw is still on its own a rock solid film. There are things that just really bug me about it. The fact that like Adam's character just doesn't really feel like he has like a fair shake. Like it feels like this is all Dr. Gordon's test and he has to fucking kill Adam. Adam's thing was just, oh well, you have to you know, get the key, which, you know, fell down the fucking drain. I mean, also, you know, he could have cut his foot off also, but you know, like his fucking hacksaw snapped. Which honestly, it's, you know, really convenient that it was Adam's saw that snapped and not Dr. Gordon's. Really would have fucked all of Jigsaw's plans right up if it had been the other way around, or both of them had been fucking broken. But yeah, so there's Adam didn't feel like he really got a fair shake. Also, in Amanda's test, like I feel like she didn't really have to sacrifice anything. Like her whole test was murder this guy who's in the room with you. It's just like, who the fuck is this guy? Why did you tell her he was dead? Like, why did you let her murder a fucking human being? Like, that guy didn't even get a fucking say. Like, what the hell was his test? Like, is there something more to this guy that we are not privy to? Like, I'm surprised like a later sequel didn't just come up with some bullshit that's like, oh, he had a previous test. So yeah, there's just certain things. Also, like the one guy who's like covered in flammable liquids and he had to like do like the combination code. I think that's the first Saw film. Like that's kind of just feels like a really a very not fair test. Yeah, like walk on broken glass covered in fucking flammable liquid and hold this candle around trying to find a combination. It's just so yeah. The first Saw film I think it's good. It is good, and it gets put in the good category. There's a lot of things I think hold it back. I think its premise is like really what elevates it. But the execution, the plot twist, obviously, you know. Also, like this film really like establishes kind of the tone and feel of the franchise. So there's a lot to really appreciate with that first film. Okay, so Saw 2. So I think Saw 2 really just kind of takes the first film and just improves on just about everything. I think the trap setups are more intricate and more interesting. I like the group dynamic. Kind of putting them in there with like a psycho who's like this big burly motherfucker who is clearly capable of just killing every single one of them with minimal effort is some shit. Like probably not the best idea to have put there. Like even like Amanda is there supposed to be like as like insurance to make sure the detective's son is okay, but even then, like she gets completely manhandled by that guy. But also like that's kind of part of like just the tension of the group dynamic and how no one really trusts each other and they're trying to figure out what their whole connections are. And then you have the stuff with the detective whose name I'm blanking on right now. Like his like whole narrative and how it ties in with his son and how you don't actually know that these are happening at separate points in time. Like, you know, you don't know that, like, you know, at least in your first viewing, you don't know that the trap scenario happening had already happened. Like, you don't know that in your first watch through. So that's like the big twist reveal of this one. I think it's a really good twist. I like how, you know, Jigsaw really makes himself more vulnerable in this one. This is the one where David Lynn Boseman takes over as director for quite a while, and like he takes what James Wan did with the first film and just elevates the stylistic elements of it. Slick transitions, the rapid cutting and editing, just the intensity and feel of it, the color grading, like everything, just the feel of Saw. Really, like the first film, you know, was like the prototype, and this one is where I feel like Saw really becomes Saw. And so yeah, Saw 2 I think is also really, really good. Um oh god, like just talking about it, I kind of want to put it in Kino, but I'm definitely putting it above Saw 1. I'm putting it in good because I have something specific for Kino, and I just feel like Saw 2 does not hit the heights that the one I'm saving for Kino hits. Like I said, I think Saw 2 is just really good across the board, but it, you know, there are things I think hold it back overall. Okay, Saw 3. Saw 3 is actually kind of an interesting one because it's a film that I kind of, like my very first time watching it, I did not like. I was just like, oh, okay, I guess this is where the Saw franchise is going to get bad. Then on like a rewatch, I had more appreciation for it, and like honestly, it really kind of bugs me. It's just kind of like Amanda's whole thing of like breaking the rules of Jigsaw, because I'm like, you know, these things aren't like beatable, and like that really kind of bugged me with the film, but like that's also the point. So like I was getting mad at the film for the point of the film. So on this recent rewatch, like I went from thinking like, it's one of the lower mid-tier films. I came out of Saw 3 this go around. It's my favorite. It is my favorite of all of these. Spoilers, that's the Kino one. I think the whole dynamic with the father going through kind of this gauntlet of people who had technically wronged him, like, you know, his whole, like, he's selected because of his like obsession with the guy who murdered his son and everyone who was like involved in it, and like how it's tearing his marriage apart. And then you have like his wife, who you don't even know is his wife, because you see her with another guy and you feel like, oh, like, he wants her to get a divorce. And you think that's her husband wanting a divorce. And like, do they bring up her crumbling marriage? And it's so well executed. Like it puts all the pieces in place to just completely misdirect you in two completely different directions with these characters. So when it intersects in the finale and you learn like, oh shit, that's like, his wife, and all of those misdirects fall into place and they make complete sense, and you're like, oh, you tricky bitch, you got me. You're like really good with that. And it's just honestly like the emotional core of this film, where you have this guy who is like so obsessed with like these people and getting revenge, and he gets like pushed to these moments where he just, he has to choose, like, to save them or not to save them. Like, he really isn't sacrificing anything. This is more about him learning to let go. And because of his hesitation in the first and third traps, he fails. He just, like, he fails. And, like, he could have saved those two people, but he was, like, so caught up in the moment, like, that, they died. And obviously, like, the guy from the second trap also by random happenstance died. Kind of shit that happened, but also, like, it would have muddied the narrative a bit if he was still roaming around. So you have everything going on there, and then you have the stuff with, like, Amanda, and, like, you see, like her kind of deterioration, and, like, how she's been cheating in the rules, and how Jigsaw is also testing her at the same time. Like, it's chef's kiss. It is, like, this is peak Saw. Like, the misdirects, the twist. It has, like, this strong emotional core to it with the dad and the wife. And, like, at the very end, you have Amanda who, fucking, like, Amanda, like, shoots the wife, the doctor, and, we find out in a later film why that is. Hoffman totally fucking sets her up, but, like, it's just such an intense moment in that, because you feel like she's deteriorating and she's not feeling appreciated, and, like, her father figure's turning against her, and, like, Jigsaw is all she really has in life at this point. And, like, she's, even though she survived the Jigsaw trap and that's what makes her, like, worthy, it's like she feels like no one else is worthy, that these other people don't actually fucking deserve a chance. And I just, like I said, the way it all comes together, and then, like, the father confronting Jigsaw, and he's just like, do you forgive me? And he goes, I forgive you. And then just slits John Kramer's throat, and, like, his heart stops, and it sets off the shotgun collar and, like, fucking blows off his wife's head. A thing that Jigsaw was really trying to avoid. Like, that's the thing. Like you could tell he did not want anything bad to happen to that doctor. Like, he really wanted her to make it out. Like, telling Amanda, please don't do this. Please stop. Let her go. Take off her fucking collar. She did her part. And she just doesn't. She snaps. She shoots him. She shoots her. The husband comes in, shoots Amanda, kills her. Then the husband kills John, and then his wife fucking dies immediately. And it's just... And then, of course, Jigsaw pulls up, like, the tape recorder and, like, hits that. And you find out, like, his daughter is somewhere, like, hidden in the thing. And it's just like, you failed your last test. Like, the last test was... for him to forgive. Like, the whole thing is about forgiveness and letting go and not being vindictive, and he just couldn't fucking do it. He just couldn't allow it to happen. And yeah, no, like I said, this is peak Saw. I don't think a single other film, like, has the intertwining narrative as strong as this one does. It doesn't have none of the other films have the emotional core that this one does. It doesn't have the emotional intensity that this one does. This is by far, like, honestly, if the series had ended here at a trilogy and just let Jigsaw die and, like, ended on this kind of open note of what happens to the guy's father and how he just fails, I would have been fine. That would have been a phenomenal, like, one of the best fucking horror trilogies ever. But it didn't end there. Instead, we get Saw 4, and I actually like Saw 4. Like, Saw 4 I feel like is kind of like one of the more unappreciated ones. I think it's just an overall solid narrative. I find the whole thing with Rig, going through the various tests. Like, Saw 4 is one of those ones that I feel kind of gets forgotten about in the shuffle. Like, a lot of people... Of all the films, it probably feels the most filler-y, of the series, but like it has a lot of really relevant plot threads running underneath it, because like everything really, like, Saw 4 really hinges on its ending. Like, the ending is the super important part, the big plot twist with Hoffman and Detective Strom. You have those two. Honestly, I actually don't remember what all the rankings are of the officers and shit. I just call them all detective. So I know they're not all detectives. I just call them detective because I don't fucking remember what their actual fucking, like, ranks within their department are. So anyhow, you have Hoffman and Strom, and, like, you know, the big plot reveal, and, like, Strom's kind of, you know, trying to find Rig and trying to stop him, and, like, Rig... Okay, so the biggest thing, honestly, that holds this film back is the fact that Rig... Like, why is Rig selected? Like, it feels like it was a really arbitrary choice to pick him. Like, the reasoning didn't feel all too solid. And yeah, I just... Like he didn't feel like a good pick for a Jigsaw, like, victim, because... Like, you know, I feel like he was only chosen because, like, he was in, like, Saw 3, and I think he's also in Saw 2, as, like, you know, one of the tactical squad guys. So, but yeah, I just, like, that's probably the biggest thing that holds this film back. Like, I really like how, like, at the ending of the film, the plot twist of, oh shit, this was all happening, coinciding with Saw 3. I think that was, like, a really cool plot twist. And kind of recontextualize a lot of stuff, and that, like, the beginning and the ends of the film are set after Saw 3, but then the entirety of Saw 4, like the whole middle section, the majority of the film is set during. And like, I like the investigative stuff with Strom. I like the twist with Hoffman. Riggs' series of tests are fine. Like, you know, it's about him trying to, like, you know, like, let people save themselves, like, not getting involved, like, just let go, like, stop fucking with things, and just let these things happen. And yeah, because he interferes in the way that he does, you know, people end up dying, and he has to, like, you know, make certain decisions. Overall, though, I think Saw 4, it's far from the best, but I do think it is a worthy, rock-solid installment. Okay, Saw 5. So this picks up from Saw 4. It's not concurrent with anything. It's not overlapping. It's just a direct sequel to Saw 4 and 3 and the events happening there, with Strom suspecting Hoffman. And there's the whole series of traps that are going on during that. And then there is the stuff with Strom doing the investigation. And God, like, this film actually sucks. Like, I do not like Saw 5. I have never liked Saw 5. Going back and rewatching it, I did not come out of it with a new appreciation for Saw 5. Saw 5 was exactly as not good as I remember it being. This is the first sequel not directed by David Lynn Boseman, and it really, really shows. Like, the structure feels kind of shaggy. The editing doesn't feel as tight or intense and have, like, that kind of energy and pop to it that I've come to expect from the Saw franchise. Overall, it's just such a mid experience. um, honestly, it's below mid, because what really ends up hurting the film the most is the traps feel so disconnected from because, like, after Saw 1, all the sequels have like an A plot and a B plot going on. And usually the A plot and the B plot intersect. They're involved. There's something connecting the two. And in Saw 5, they just feel completely disconnected. Like, the traps feel like an arbitrary thing that's happening, and I don't know why they're happening or how it even connects in any kind of meaningful way. And really, by the end of it, like, the traps just feel like they're there. Like, the only narrative purpose that it has is to help frame Strom. That's about it. That's the only purpose that they serve. But honestly, you didn't really need the traps there. Like, there was enough there to, like, point fingers at Strom. And, like, that really also hinges on the fact that, like, if Strom had died, like if Strom had just gotten in, like, the little glass coffin thing like he was supposed to, like, he would have been fine. He would have been, he would have lived, and then, like, he would have been able to, like, make a case for himself that he was not Jigsaw, and then it's Hoffman. But yeah, the investigative part, like, I feel like what they were trying to do was create, like, this cat and mouse game between Hoffman and Strom, and it isn't there. It's just like Strom just kind of going through the motions of finding clues at his own leisurely pace while the traps are going on, completely unrelated to him. And then the way it just kind of cross sections, it's uninteresting. The twist is not really a twist, I feel. And then Strom dies and Hoffman gets away, and yeah, no. Saw 5 is in the fuck you category. The editing is weak. The story and the storytelling and the structure of it is very shaggy and just doesn't feel like tight and intense like a lot of the other Saw films do. The twist is non-fucking existent. The disconnect between the track, like the A plot and the B plot, just nothing works in this film. Next we have Saw 6, and following up from the previous film, Hoffman is now like the only Jigsaw around that we know about, and he is trying to cover his tracks. The police are getting closer and closer, though, to figuring out that Strom wasn't Jigsaw and that Hoffman is. And, like, this feels like more of an intense cat and mouse game. I feel like the editing here still isn't as good as the Boseman films or even Wan's film. But it's definitely, I think, better than Saw 5, at very least. But overall, though, I think the story here is just rock fucking solid. Like, the stuff with Hoffman and the detectives, like, looking into him, I think has a lot of intensity to it. And you have Hoffman, who is doing his Jigsaw game, and the Jigsaw game with the insurance agent, and how, like, giving him these kind of ironic tests. Once again, we run into a situation where like, one person has to die, and I feel like that's kind of unfair, because, like, that's not really the point of Jigsaw. Like, Jigsaw's supposed to, like, give you that fighting chance, and I feel like the fighting chance just never really happens in this film for a lot of characters. But the whole plot line, like, the whole concept of, like, this guy's connection to John Kramer and his series of tests, and once again, a really good misdirect where you have, like, he needs to save his family. That's the whole thing of getting to the end to save his family. And we see, like, a mother and her son, and then we see, like, this blonde woman, and it's kind of like, you don't know what the connection here is. I read this, like, here's how good, like, the misdirect is. I forgot the twist of this film, because as I was watching it, I fell for the misdirect again, where I thought the wife and the child were his wife and child, and the blonde woman was, like, his mistress that he was seeing on the side, and, like, that was gonna be, like, the big thing. And nope. I had completely, like I said, like, I had forgotten the twist of this film, and It really, like, caught me off guard again, like all these years later. Um, like the death scene, like, oh man, that was fucking brutal. And like, there's like just a lot of good happening in this film overall. The fucking shotgun carousel is probably one of the most iconic fucking traps, at least for me. It's probably my personal favorite trap because there's just something so horrifying and intense about it. And like that last guy, like, he saves the second to last person, because he can only save two, and the last person is like, "Oh, fucking great! I kissed your ass for all these years. I did this for your company. I always follow the rules. You look at me as you fucking kill me, you piece of shit." And it's intense. It's intense. It's good. Like like I said, the editing isn't as strong as the Boseman films. Uh, but I feel like just there's so much like intensity going on with the traps, um, and the whole twist with Jill Tuck and how, like, taking out Hoffman, like that was really good. Like, God, that ending where he gets his jaw torn open was just ugh. um yeah. Saw 6 I think is really really good. um I'm I used to actually have Saw 6. It used to be my favorite, but going back and rewatching it, I realized it wasn't quite as good as I remembered it being. So yeah, it's still in the good category, most definitely, but it is firmly in the yeah, it's very firmly, like, right after Saw 2, I think, because like Saw 3 untouchable. Saw 2, I feel like just it ties in its narrative a bit better, and it's not quite as convoluted, and it's just that got that Boseman energy to the editing that I really appreciate and really enjoy. So yeah, Saw 6, it's going like the second slot in the good category. uh Saw 3D. Okay, so this is like one that like a lot of people I know dislike, and like a lot of people say it's the worst of the Saw films, and I don't agree at all. Like, I understand why people dislike this film. I think it's a lot of fun. Like, it is so far removed from like what Saw usually is. It's very schlocky. It's very just like this is just Saw going off the fucking rails. I think the 3D does actually hinder the film in like retrospect. One, because the title of the film is now Saw 3D until the end of fucking time. Like, good fucking job. Way to really date your film, especially with a goddamn like visual format that will never be carried over into the future because 3D technology and televisions just never fucking took off. And I am never going to call this film like Saw the Final Chapter. No, you fucked up. You fucked up and you called this Saw 3D. So I am going to, till the end of time, call this film Saw 3D. Fuck you. So yeah, really what makes this film like really enjoyable to me though is the stuff with Hoffman is just really, really good. Like, the whole, like, him trying to elude the cops and him setting up this Machiavellian fucking scheme to get to Jill Tuck. And really, the traps here are also kind of... The traps here, I think, are really lame. I really hate the one at the very end where it's, his innocent fucking fiance gets fucking roasted because he failed his test. Like, if you can't tell by now, I really just don't like it when people don't have a fair shot in these, and like, what the fuck does she do wrong? She did nothing wrong. Like, the other people, okay, fine, like, they did wrong things. But like, here's just like, she's a complete fucking innocent. Like if anything, he should have been fucking set on fire for failing. Like, it should have been a trick. That just feels so anti-Saw, and part of me wants to believe like, oh, this is Hoffman because Hoffman's a fucking psycho, but no, like this is still like a John Kramer trap. Like, this is what he fucking intended and planned. So yeah, I don't like how it ends. The ending really ruins it for me. Well, the trap part of the ending ruins it for me. And the traps here are really just kind of a diversion for the police, more than anything. it's just like him doing Jigsaw shit to keep the police on their toes, so that way he can sneak in to get the Jill Tuck. And what really kind of saves this film is just the ending where he actually kills Jill Tuck. We actually get to see the reverse bear trap work. Like, just, ugh. Great stuff. Fucking love it. But then after that, we get the reveal of Dr. Gordon and, like, how he's been with Jigsaw ever since Saw 2, and what he's been up to. And honestly, like, this is kind of cool because it was, like, a big fan theory, like, since Saw 6, I want to say. No, since, like, Saw 5. People were theorizing that Dr. Gordon was alive and working with Jigsaw. And then, like, like the plot threads, that the things that people have pointed to, like, oh, this would have had to have been Dr. Gordon. That is what happened here. I don't know if that was always the plan, because you could tell, like, there are certain seeds that get planted in certain films, but I don't know if they were always intending at some point for Gordon to have been alive. I do like how it brings it full circle, though. Like, even if they're just, taking a fan theory and making it canon, I think the way it kind of brings the series full circle and just wraps everything up, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fucking fun. Like, if you just let go of the whole, like, what Saw has been up until this point and, like, your expectations for it, and just go along for the thrill ride, it's pretty great. Well, okay, great is a really strong fucking word. Okay, it's not great, but it's a fun ass time. I was certainly not bored throughout it, and also, like, if you watch in 3D, it fucking rules. Like, I saw that shit in theaters opening night, fucking loved it. I actually have somewhere I stole, like, the fucking 3D glasses from the theater because they were Saw 3D printed, and I was just like, I'm keeping these. Fuck you. I have those somewhere. But yeah, Saw 3D. I want to put it in the category because, like, I don't think it's, like, I don't think it definitely doesn't deserve to be in the fuck you category. It's just too much fun. Like, if you think Saw 3D is the worst film in the series, I'm not going to argue with you. It is absolute schlock, and it is really dependent on how you feel about schlock. I am an absolute sucker for it, so I had a fucking great time watching it. God, so, about the series coming full circle, well, let's just break that fucking circle right now, because Jigsaw, I really wanted to give this film a fair fucking shake, because I'm like, okay, like, we're gonna soft reboot the Saw franchise, create a new series of films, I guess, with, like, a new Jigsaw, and just, there's, like, so much that, with this film, it just, like how it ties into, like, previous films of just, like, oh, like, this is, like, one of the very first big Jigsaw traps, and, like, this guy's been around the whole fucking time. It's like, okay, well, where's Dr. Gordon in all of this? Like, what happened to him? But, like, Dr. Gordon's just nowhere to be seen. We got this new asshole. The whole concept of, like the investigation, like the A plot and the B plot happening in completely different times, is a very weird choice. Like, because usually, like, sometimes I really dig that, like in Saw 2. Like, Saw 2, I thought that was really fucking cool. Here, I feel like this is just, like, a worse version. Like, the traps feel like a worse version of things we've seen in other Saw films. Okay, so, like, Jigsaw was their attempt to soft reboot the franchise, create a new Jigsaw, create a new series of films, while still being in continuity. God, this film feels like a fucking mistake. Like, I appreciate what the film is trying to do, like, tie back into, like, old lore and go, haha, like, this guy's been here the entire time, but it's just like, okay, well, we've never seen this guy, who gives a shit? So, like, the reveal of who Jigsaw isn't that interesting as far as I'm concerned. The paralleling stories where, like, the A plot and the B plot, like, happened at completely different times, like, they're, like, a decade apart, I think is really fucking lame. And just, because, like, he like decides to be Jigsaw, but like he's recreating these Jigsaw traps and he's like leaving the bodies out for the police to find. And it's just like, why are you recreating an old Jigsaw trap that you've already done? Also, like, he didn't even really like get tested properly. He fucking he got hit by like the fucking circular saw blades because he was passed the fuck out the entire time. And like the mere fact that just like thinking about it logistically about like the second set of like the second trap he did that was supposed to mirror the traps that like his group went through that he didn't even go through himself. He just got fucked up like in the very beginning and then Jigsaw saved him. Like so like that's kind of unsatisfying. And then just like so he just put people through a series of traps and they just happen to all die in the exact same fashion, the exact same ways. Like it was just kind of lame. And then there's certain bits of it that just don't make fucking sense. Like the one dude breaking through the floor and like getting like his foot caught in like the wires and like losing his leg, and it's just like because it like the video recording like very much implies that that guy was intended for like it was very much intended for that to happen to that guy, and it's just like really like I don't know, it's just it feels like a mess. The fact that the investigation is so hyper focused on the coroners, like okay fine, like you're kind of sort of suspecting them. Why are you why are those like the only suspects? Why are they not doing like more research? Like why are they so hyper focused on these two coroners? And it feels like it's just artificial tension being created. Yeah, overall, I think it was bad. Like I think there's like some good stuff here. I appreciate what it's trying to do, but overall, like it's definitely better than Saw 5, but I think it's worse than Saw 3D. So it's I'm gonna put it in the category because there's still some things that I kind of dig about it. God, it's so close to the fuck you category though. And then Spiral from the Book of Saw, which is apparently not a Saw film if you ask the fucking directors. It's a Saw film. It doesn't fucking matter. They got Daryl Lynn Boseman back. His first time directing one of these films since Saw 4. And like it feels like a Saw film. It's edited like a Saw film. It has the musical stings of a Saw film. It has the big plot reveal, like twist at the end, like a Saw film. It is a Saw film. It's just got Chris Rock being Chris Rock in the middle of all of it. It's actually really kind of good. Like this is honestly, I think, a far better like soft reboot of the Saw franchise than Jigsaw ever was, because Jigsaw just felt like it was just trying to do more of the same, but with like a new character, and it just fell flat and didn't fucking work. Here we have a new Jigsaw, but like instead of trying to like interweave it into everything that's already happened with the Saw franchise up until this point, it's set in the Saw universe. It's just a guy who was inspired by Jigsaw. The plot twist I saw coming, like who actually is the new Jigsaw. I saw that coming, but like it was still like good. Like the way like they unfurl the plot and how they reveal everything, I think was like pretty clever. This has like more of a detective story thing going on, like a murder mystery, where like Jigsaw is focusing on the cops as opposed to like a group of people going through like a gauntlet. And it's very Seven-ish, where it's very much like poking at this one guy. But yeah, like overall, I think like the traps are pretty neat. I think the ending with Samuel L. Jackson's character was really cool stuff. Like very satisfying. It's a very mid tier though. Like it's fine. It was enjoyable. It was surprisingly enjoyable. I don't know where I want to put it. It's either going to be acceptable, it's either at the front of acceptable, or it's at the back of good. And I'm going to put it in the back of good. And yeah, that is my Saw ranking list. That is the entirety of it. So yeah, at the very bottom, Saw 5. Fuck it, it sucked. Jigsaw. You tried. You tried. You still kind of sucked, but you tried. Saw 3, actually, no, fuck that. It's going in the fuck you category. It's going in the fuck you. It's the front of the fuck you category, but it is. I'm moving. I'm changing my goddamn mind. So yeah, Saw 5. This is still like the same place, but it doesn't deserve to be in the category because it's definitely not as good as Saw 3D as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, Saw 5, fuck you. Jigsaw, fuck you. Saw 3D, it's schlock, but it's really entertaining schlock. I can't hate it. I can't. I just refuse. Like, I know it's not that good. I know it's not good at all. But man, it just pokes that part of my brain that I really fucking enjoy. Saw 4. It's fine. It's perfectly fine. As mid as a Saw film can be. It does its job. It does it fairly well. And it just doesn't exceed. Like, it doesn't, like, reach any particular heights. Spiral. Like, it's a good reboot of the series. Like, I want to see more of this. Like, I want more. Like, honestly, from here up, like, honestly, I would say from acceptable up. Actually, no, we saw 3D and up. Like, honestly, from up, honestly, like, I enjoy all these in some way, shape, or form. But I think, like, these 5 are, like, the real standouts. So, yeah, Spiral, surprisingly good. I really expected it just to absolutely suck fucks. Saw, it's the original. It set the standard. Saw 6, really fucking good. Like, just, like I said, I just like how everything kind of works together. Just a really, 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 like, upper solid installment of this franchise. Saw 2 takes everything Saw 1 did, and I think just improves upon it immensely. Just adds so many layers to the dynamics, and just so much extra complexity to the story, but not being overly convoluted. And then Saw 3 in the Kino spot, number 1. It's my favorite. It is, like I said, it's got the emotional core, it's got the tight interweaving narrative, it's got the really good plot twist. It is my favorite Saw film. So yeah, that is my list. Happy Halloween. I will hopefully see you with another film on actual Halloween. Till next time, Xeon, out.